Alright class, welcome to lecture 1 homework assignment. We're going to go through this sort of quickly because there's not much to it. So hopefully you follow along. Feel free to pause if I've gone past where you are, and then press play when you're ready again. Okay, so this again is our first lecture homework assignment, and we're going to get ourselves acclimated with Excel and in terms of using it for our statistics. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sort the data so that we can answer some of these questions. And then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to create frequency tables like what we learned in lecture 1, and then answer some more questions. Okay, so let's begin. Let me make this a little larger. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to go to column A. Feel free to follow with the instructions you see here on this page. I may skip some, but just follow along with that. You select column A. Don't let go of that left clicker yet. Just continue to move over to the right. Select all of that, and then we're going to go up here to sort and filter. We're going to click filter. So if you notice what just happened, and I'll undo it just so that you can see, you can do and undo, right? You can create the filter and uncreate and remove the filter. So what is the filter showing us? The values listed in some type of order for all the variables, right? Gender variable and so on. And so for the ones that have names or letters, you're going to see it just in alphabetical order, essentially, and the ones that have numbers, you're going to see it in numerical order. Okay, so now that we've done that, steps 1 to 4, we can answer the question, what is the highest salary in this sample and what's the lowest salary? So I need you to fill that information out, and what we do in order to fill that out is we look here at the salary variable, right? We can just click down. We don't have to sit here and look through them and go, oh, which one's higher, which one's higher, right? We can go here to this filter drop down menu. We can see, as it's already sorted, that the lowest is 20,000, the highest is 16,000, or if we don't feel like doing that for whatever reason, we can just sort. See the sort from lowest to smallest to largest, or we can sort from largest to smallest, and we're getting that same answer. Okay, so now question 2 is asking us how many variables are in this data set. I've been talking in terms of variables and values, not just in the lecture, but now in this homework. So let's go over to that data spreadsheet and let's count how many variables there are. Age is a variable, gender also is, and so on. Okay, and we should also see that person, that's sort of our identifying number. We can call it a variable. Some researchers do, some don't, but it is our identifier variable. So we can say that we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. So 7 variables. All right, question number 3 is asking us to list each variable that we just counted. We want to list it, and we want to indicate how many values each variable has. Now that is going to be easier for some than for others. So let's take a look at it. And here's a hint there if you decide to read it. Hopefully you do. For the values here, this identifier variable, we can see that it's sort of in ascending order, so we're not skipping any numbers. No numbers are being skipped. So for this, we can say there are 399 values in there. Essentially 399 people responded to the survey. Okay, so let's look at age. How many values? So let's look at age again. Age has 1, 2, 3 values: elderly, middle-aged, and young. Right? So those are the values. And when we hover over it, not clicking anything, right? When we just hover over the variable name age, we can see, let me edit this comment to make it a little wider. It's too wide now. So we can hover over this variable age and we can see the code for it. The 3 categories here are young, and it's coded for anyone who was 34 or younger. For middle age, anyone who was 35 to 59, and then elderly for anyone who was older than 60. Okay, you can see that there. All right, and we can go to gender, and we can see the code for gender. They coded 1 as male and 2 as female. This one doesn't have any codes, so we can just see the number of variables here. We can of course count it, right? And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 values for that variable, number of children. Lots of variables here, lots. And not variables. Sorry folks, I'm meaning to say values. Because that's what we're looking for. And then here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. And again, it's in alphabetical order and not necessarily the order of that it would have been coded in. And we'll talk more about that in a different lecture about coding and how to code, right? And it won't necessarily be by alphabetical order, because it wouldn't make sense to code agree as 1 and then disagree as 2, then neutral at 3, and so on and so on. Okay? So a quick way to find out how many values are in variables that don't just have 2 or 3, right, values, we could go in here and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We stopped at Texas. 10. Or, you know, I would just go in here and do equals count. And I would put a open parentheses there, and I would ask it to count everything in, oh no, I did that wrong. It's not gonna count it correctly. That's actually not the right way to do that. So you just simply have to go in and count the number of variables. I was thinking something else that we're actually gonna do in a different lecture, so forgive me for that. And then you would go in here and count the number of values here, and this one is going to give you some work to do in terms of counting how many values are there. All right, so now we can answer question number 4, because we have gone through lecture 1 and we understand what values are and what variables are, and the different types of variables there are is based on the type of value we have. So we can go in here and answer the question: which variable is interval, is ordinal, nominal, and dummy? And just remember that if it's something is a dummy variable, it's also one of the other 3 listed here. Okay, we're not going to go over that together. I want you to take the time to do that and practice on your own, please. Okay, how many observations are in this data set? In other words, how many people submitted their questionnaire? Now, we already noticed that this is our identifier variable. This is person number 1, 2, 3, and so on. And we can see that it ends at 399 since we have sorted by column A. Now, we would never look over here, right, to the actual column number, because that would lead us astray in thinking that there are 400 observations or 400 people that responded, when in fact that first column, that first row is just the row for all of the variable names. So never be misled by that. Please, if you do count 400, subtract by 1 and you should get the 399. Okay? Now, let's create a frequency table. Now let's get down to some fun stuff. Let's create a frequency table. We're going to do it for age, but once we follow these instructions, we're also going to do it for gender, and we're going to do it for opinion. Okay? So I'm going to zoom out a little because we're going to need to use some of the space here. We're going to go to the Insert tab right here, folks. Now these instructions are going to be different for you, especially if you're using a Mac or if you're using a different version of Microsoft Office. I believe this is Microsoft Office 10. I do have 13, but I prefer 10 personally. So that's what I'm using right now. And so take the time to pause this video and find where some of these buttons are that I'm telling you to click, because they're not going to be the same for, they might not be the same for your particular computer. Okay, so here we go, creating our frequency table. We're going to go to, we're already in the Insert tab. We're going to go to Pivot Table, not the regular table. We're going to go to Pivot Table, select Pivot Table. Okay, now we're going to tell it the range for age. So we need to go in here, we need to go in here, back to the data spreadsheet, select age by hovering like we did earlier, select the entire column, and then we'll be done. Hold on, let me get up there. All right, in order to get up, I press Control Home. That was it together, Control Home together. All right, so we're gonna select this whole column here. As you can see, that changed. If I want to gender, watch as that changes, but we're gonna select the B column. Now we're gonna go back here and follow instructions. It's telling us that we want to select where we want the pivot table to be placed. I chose M2. Let's go with M2. It's a good location. Oh goodness, what is going on? We're gonna go here and we're gonna go to M2. Oh, 28. Actually, you go to M2 just for your final, but I want to go to 28 just so I can continue to follow these instructions. Actually, I'm gonna go further down, 35. All right, so one thing you should notice is that with all of the changes I was making, I'm glad that this happened, so just in case it would happen to you, you notice up here that this changed to the homework spreadsheet, which is why it's saying, hey, there's nothing in there, so I can't create a pivot table. So we need to go back here, select all of this, let's delete it, and let's make sure that we're selecting that data table, that data spreadsheet, and the age variable, the age column. This is going to stay the same. We're going to press OK. All right. So now here's our the beginning of our pivot table. Okay. So we're going to click on here. And we're going to drag, because we want age, because it's the only thing we selected. So we definitely want age. We want it to show up there. We want values. Let's scroll over. So we want it to be in the rows, right? We want it to be in rows. And we want the values to also show up for the count of age, count for age, okay? We have no blanks, which is good, so we have no missing variables. Everyone told us their age, essentially is what this is telling us, okay? So our frequency table is currently only showing us these absolute frequencies. So now we want to get the relative frequencies as well. We want to know the percentage of age based on these categories. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on that again. Anywhere you click in this frequency table, it will allow you to see the table, you know, to start formatting. So we're going to drag this down again, but this time what we're going to do is click on one of them. I would prefer the second one. Click on value field setting. We're going to go show values as percentage of grand total. Okay, let's just do that one. Okay. And we can see here the percentage of the total. And if we were to say 94 equals 94 divided by 399, we should get that 23.56%. So it's the same thing, and we can even go up here and format it. We can change the number of decimal places, remove decimals, add decimals, or whatever you want to do. I'm going to undo those things because I don't want that calculation anymore. I was just showing you how that number came about. Okay? Now, formatting and finalizing this frequency table. Okay, so you can format your percentages to have no decimal places or whatever you like. Okay, but for this class, we will never ever need more than 2 decimal places. Use only 1 or 2, please, moving forward for anything that we calculate. Okay, in this class, formatting can be done by right-clicking or by clicking the top menu items above that have blue arrows with lots of zeros. So you can see this one here, as I mentioned earlier, these two with blue arrows and zeros. Okay, you can change the generic words count of age and count of age to, let's make that frequency. Let's click on that and let's call it frequency. Ooh, let's spell frequency correctly. And let's call this one percentage. And because there are no missing values, we know that this is the valid percentage. Okay. You'll also need to add a table title above the table. So we are at M36 instead of M1, which is fine. But we're going to call it frequency table for age. And I'm just going to copy that and paste it here. There we go. Frequency table for age. And we're going to change the row label to age. We're just going to call it age. All right. Now, look at how beautiful and informative this frequency table is. Awesome, yes? Nice. I don't like that. Okay, so now we can answer these questions once we do step 7 or question 7 for gender and opinion. Okay, so just to follow suit with the instructions, I'm going to move this all the way up to where the instructions told us to put it, which is M2 and M1. Okay, so the next one will go about here, and the one after will go about here. Okay, so please move forward and do question 7 and answer question 8. Thanks, guys.